Welcome to another episode of The Hard Naked Truth. Really looking forward to this episode today. I've got Dustin Gordon with me, as his Instagram profile says, property investor, business owner, True Blue Water Exchange. We'll have a little bit of chat about that a little later and about the property investing. I met you, Dustin, at one of the first ever, I guess, of the original group of One Life Club. And we at Simon Beard's house, founder of Culture Kings, who is founder of One Life Club with another couple of entrepreneurs, and we were fortunate enough to get the call up to his house, and it was a great day and stuff. I saw on the weekend he had a massive party to end all parties. He had jet skis in his swimming pool and stuff, and we obviously got to spend a bit of time in that, which was fantastic. It was, it was awesome to meet you there, and you've become a client of our firm, which is great. And and I believe the team's looked after you, and you're pretty happy with things. Well, I hope so. Well, be interesting on the podcast if we dig into that. But so welcome. It's good to have you here, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I guess let's jump into property investing. I was on a podcast last week with Smart Property magazine, and they were deep diving into my sort of property journey. Do you want to talk a little bit? And I love property, as an asset class. I know a lot of people are getting into, or have got into, and a lot of people are getting into again crypto and stuff like that, and other asset classes. But for me, I've always loved that bricks and mortar. I've done really well out of it, and I know you have as well. How did you start, and what's the reason you've chosen, property as a key class?
Yeah, I guess when I come out of school, the first thing I ever did was I jumped straight into a trade. I was 16.
Yeah.
Because back then that's all you sort of knew.
Yeah.
And as I started to get into the years, I realised pretty quickly that I needed to try and work something out, and looking at property and looking at all these other gurus online.
Yeah.
I was living in Mildura at the time.
Yep. So country boy.
Yeah. So houses were pretty cheap back then. I think, the first house I bought was 150,000. But if I had my time again, I probably wouldn't have purchased that house. But that's all I knew, and I knew if I wasn't very good at saving back then.
Yeah.
Wasn't making a lot of money back then, so
just spending it every dollar that came in.
Yeah, just like every other 18-year-old, that usually does it. So I knew that if I bought a property, that would get me started, and I'd start to understand it a little bit more. So I bought the first property when I was 18, and I lived in that property, and I just kept working, and then I sort of travelled around a bit for footy and things like that. But and then I bought another one in Mildura as well, 3 years later.
Yeah.
Wasn't until I met, the guy that I've dealt with the last three properties I bought, Daniel Walsh, from Your Property or Wealth, where I really understood that it's really important where you buy these properties, and getting them, purchasing them at the right times as well, before they've actually started growing. So yeah, over my time, I've done things that haven't really worked out, but then I've learned from those mistakes, and then I've gone back in and bought a few properties that have done really well as well.
Do you still have that original one in Mildura? You flicked it?
I sold it this year, okay. So I held it for 13 years or something like that.
Yeah. And why do you say you wouldn't have bought that again if you had your time?
Well, I ended up selling it for 280,000.
Yeah.
So
still a profit.
I sold it for profit, but the houses that I bought in Brisbane and Perth, like the Perth one I bought, I think I was telling you that the Perth one I bought last year, I think it did like 250,000 growth in 12 months.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So if you put that into perspective, it really matters where you buy, and if you've got the right team behind you that can show you that path and where to purchase, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and that that's huge. Like I was talking to the guys last week, as I said, and which one of the big things they spoke to me about, some a tip and stuff, and I said, look, get the right. If you don't have the time to do the research yourself, or you don't understand the areas, and Australia's a big country. make sure you have the right team behind you, and that starts from, you spoke before, I think it was Daniel, in terms of the right buyer's agent to actually guide you in terms of demographics, and that's from the right location all the way through to, does it have schools, does it have transportation, is that going to be put in, etc., etc., and then all the way through to, obviously, we're an accounting and advisory firm, having the right team in terms of right structure, right tax consequences in relation to how you're buying and what you can do and stuff in terms of that. So
Yeah,
really
absolutely. And yeah, it's all about time. Like, if you're going to pay someone 15 grand to do all the work for you and make sure that, you're going to purchase the right property, it's going to save you a lot of time, and then time is also money as well. So I can't really fault that.
Yeah. 250k, that's in a year, that's more than a lot of people's take-home salary, so you can't scoff at that, can you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and what are you currently looking at going again, or?
Yeah, so so you guys have actually set up a trust, property trust for me. So I've just recently refinanced all my loans to Bank West, just to get some more flexibility there.
Yep.
And then we're just getting pre-approval at the moment to purchase through a trust structure, which I wasn't really that familiar of, but I've
Yep.
started to understand a little bit more, where you'll be able to purchase more properties in a lot quicker. So this financial year, I'm looking to buy 2 properties, in 2 separate trusts.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and lending's really important too. It's really important that you look at, your cost of funding and stuff. And if it's too much, then refinance. A lot of people are lazy lenders, where they just tend to. It's almost like a gym membership. They stay with the same lender, and they don't actually review their positions or anything. And also the other thing they get really lazy about is sitting on what I call lazy equity, where they build up a significant amount of equity and they don't tend to, as we were talking about, go again, which is it becomes that compounding factor where you build up a bigger portfolio, and obviously the growth compounds over time. So
constantly, if you've got the right team, like I said, if you've got the right team on board, right finance broker, they should be constantly looking, hey, look, let's have a look at these loans, see how much equity you got in them, get them valued, and then, you mightn't even know that you're ready to go again. Because if that's the end goal, and for me, that's the vehicle that I feel like that's going to get me to a really nice retirement, I'll constantly keep trying to purchase properties.
Yeah. Have you thought about, Bob, other structures outside of it? I mean, obviously the team will chat to you about that, or have chatted to you, like such as self-managed super funds or anything at some stage in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. That's obviously on the cards as well. But I guess for now, it's you can't look too far ahead. But for now, it's just setting up a couple of trust structures, and there's a lot of benefits to that as well. So which I'm starting to find out too.
Yeah, awesome. So, business, True Blue Water Exchange. Do you, and I know at the One Life Club event, everyone found it really interesting when they heard what you talked about in relation to what you do and stuff, because it's not something that you hear every day. Do you find how is it if you're at a barbecue or something and someone goes, what do you do, mate? What's the reaction, and are they intrigued, or is it something like the accountants get a lot of the time where they go, fuck, I'm going to walk away, I'm not so sure about this.
People, every time, like, there's not many people I've met where they actually understand it. So, when some people think that I drive around in a water truck, some people think, I don't know, that just don't understand it. But it's basically the best way to explain it. Like, if someone come up to me and said, what do you do? I'm like a real estate agent, but for water. And, it's something that I can do remote or anywhere really, because the business structure is most of our clients we've never actually met face to face, and I guess we've sort of done things backwards, where I'm actually getting out there now more and going to see these big clients that that I've never met before. But you know, it is one of those things where when I was growing up, it wasn't on the cards even knowing what this was. But I sort of fell into it, and you know.
And how did you fall into it? Like,
yeah, so like after I did my trade, you know, it wasn't something I was looking around. I was a cabinet maker when I left school, and I got my trade like license pretty quick, and I was looking around the workshop, and I was looking at all these old men and sore backs and carrying cupboards their whole life, and just hated it.
Thinking, I don't want to be here in another 15, 20, 30 years being one of them.
Yeah, I was just like, I think that week I literally quit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that if I was stuck in that cycle where, you know, if you don't actually take the time and step away from something and have a think about what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And then I realised that, you know, my dad was a real estate agent, had their own family business. Yeah, I thought, what about if I get my real estate license? I've always been good with people. You know, I sort of had that entrepreneurial mindset growing up. So I ended up getting my real estate license, and I worked in the family business for 3 to 4 years, and it was probably the last year that I realised what my dad was doing as well in the business, and that was he was a water broker, and he'd been doing it for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So I started to learn that side of the business, and I said to Dad, this is pretty crazy, this business, and you know, you can make just as much money as a real estate agent with, you know, less time sort of things like open inspections and things like that. You know, if you had a big parcel of water you could sell, like it could be, you know, $1 million worth of water. If it's priced correctly, we could sell it that day, have it settled in 3 weeks. And I just thought that business model was something that I could really take to the next level. My dad was pretty old school.
Yeah.
So when I sort of mentioned I had all these ideas about, you know, starting a new water exchange platform, and you know, people can trade online, he wasn't like 100% on board with it.
Yeah.
So, but I did say to him, you know, like, maybe this is my thing. So, you know, he gave me his blessing to go start my own business, and you know, I moved away to Adelaide, and we sort of did do business over the time, and sort of built it from the ground up there, you know, and that was about 6 years ago. Okay,
so you're like a real estate agency. You're not like we were joking last week, the water boy, and you're not going to turn up with a tanker of 1 million litres of water at my house, are you? So it's I'm investing in a plane or a section of water that will be utilised by someone else. Is that?
Yeah, so there's obviously 2 types of people that need to buy water, and one's obviously farmers that want to utilise the water for their farms. So if they buy a certain amount of megalitres for their farm, they basically own the rights to for that on an annual basis. So it's like when I say it's like being a real estate for water, it's like you're actually getting a licence. You're signing a contract, and your name is on that section of, you know, part of water for good. So you permanently own it. You know, say for an investor point of view, if you're an investor, you could, you know, purchase that water, and you could lease that water out to a farmer on an annual basis and receive a return off that. Yeah. So, you know, there's 2 types of, you know, people that look at purchasing these water entitlements or these water rights. And, you know, I guess the investors are starting to get into it a lot more because they do, you know, they do get a good return off the water, and the capital growth that's come with it over the last, you know, 15 years has been pretty big as well.
What sort of return are you talking about? Like, I mean, I guess from an income and versus capital.
Yeah. So I think on average it's about 3 to 6% return on your investment.
Okay.
But capital growth wise, you know, it's been like 500% over, you know, the last probably 10 years.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, what sort of investor are you seeing people buy it in their individual names, or a company structure or trust, or even like a self-managed super fund, or even a public super fund investing in that type of asset?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got people that will purchase through their personal names, and one of the big things is probably people purchasing through a self-managed super fund these days. You know, people that go through an ordinary super fund like Qantas Super or Victorian Super. They probably don't realise it, but these funds are massive holders of water entitlements.
Yeah.
And they invest into it.
Yeah, so they've got an asset allocation. It's like
Mm.
it's quite a good stable asset allocation for self-managed super funds. You know, and we deal with a number of self-managed super funds ourselves, and we've got a large accounting firm base that we work with as well on our B2B services. So I'd love to we'll get this podcast out there. It'd be good for them to hear and talk to their clients and in relation to it's like an alternative, almost an alternative asset class that they're investing in, and it's with 3 to 6% is pretty good. When you consider about bank and other, and then obviously that potential for that capital growth is fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. It's an alternative asset class.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's awesome. And so recently, I think you mentioned also that you're in the process, or you are acquiring your dad's business as well.
Yeah, so that's all done and dusted.
Yeah.
We sort of did the deal. So that was a full circle moment for me. So
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously I worked for him growing up, and I had all these ideas, and over that 5 years period, I think he realised pretty quickly that I wasn't slowing down, and and he was sort of getting to the age where compliance and all these things were coming into the game, things were changing, things were going more online, and it just made sense for us to put sort of he'd come on as a partner, but would still work under my brand, but we acquired his business back in July. So this financial year we took over his side, but it's been awesome. Things have definitely picked up since it all happened, and we sort of knew that we needed an office in a regional area as well. So we were able to take over his office, rebrand it, have people working in that office, and I was able to still run things up in the Gold Coast, but obviously having those people on board and being right in the mix of our target market's been huge.
Yeah. And so is he stepped out of the business, or he's working with you, or he's retired, or he's
No, I can't say the R word around him. He doesn't like that. He said I'm not retired yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just working as a broker under our brand. So he's on the same as all the other brokers that work under my brand, and he's pretty keen to just keep chipping along and doing his thing. But I think he's pretty happy that he doesn't have to deal with all the paperwork side of things anymore, and he can slow down a little bit and that was probably the whole point. It wasn't just me acquiring his business. It was allowing me to do something, give back to my parents that done so well to bring me up and things like that, where I was able to give them a sum of money as well, so to free them up a little bit more, allow them to plan, and they can do a little bit more travelling and stuff over the next couple of years. And so that was a really good feel-good moment as well. It wasn't just about acquiring a business, it was allowing them to start thinking a bit more about retiring and slowing down a little bit and not having to worry, because I don't think my dad would have been okay with selling the business to anyone else but me. So if it wasn't me that bought it, he'd still be doing, probably stressed to the hills, So it was more than just acquiring a business. It was way bigger than that.
That's pretty good values you've got to actually, as you said, a full circle moment, and to be able to do that is pretty special in anyone's lifetime, to be able to turn around and effectively give back to the people who've raised you and done so much for you and everything. So
and I was a shit of a kid too. So.
So
so it was the least I could do.
That's awesome. Do you reckon growing up in the country set some of your values and stuff, or you just learned from being a shit of a kid and I've got to make a change?
I think that all comes with being a business owner as well. I think you got to grow up pretty quick. And I sort of threw myself in the deep end 6 years ago. I didn't have a plan B. That was the only way. And that made me say, this is it, or you're going back to work for Dad.
You need to dig in.
And yeah, it was quite interesting when I first started my business. Moved to Adelaide, and one of the other water brokering firms took me out for lunch because we used to do a few deals with him. And he goes, right, I'm going to offer you a job. And I said, no, I'm starting my own business. And he's like, I'll see you in 3 weeks.
See, yeah.
And I go, that's enough motivation for me
Yeah.
to, keep this thing going and make sure that it works.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, like probably 2 weeks ago, he rang me. He goes, he was just like, you know what? He goes, I fucking hate you, but you've done extremely well. He's like, I didn't think you had it in you. But, obviously he didn't believe that I could do it, but I knew that I could do it.
And he gave you that little bit of a kick up the arse to push along.
Yeah.
It's good that he, picked up the phone and,
Yeah.
Said that. Like it's...
Yeah. So we're obviously talking about a few other things that are going in with the water broking industry, but he did say that, and he goes, I'm always looking at your stuff and you're always implementing new things into your business. And he's just like, we can't keep up with you.
Yeah.
So, but I guess all the company owners in this industry are probably 60 plus years old.
Okay.
And I think I'm the youngest. Yeah, I'm definitely the youngest company owner in this industry in Australia. So, from being, I guess, a little bit younger, I guess you see other things that we can implement, and then meeting other people that are doing things in other businesses, and I'll bring that energy into mine.
Yeah, so it's always important to be ahead of the game. I mean, it gives you that competitive advantage. And like, how many you talked about other companies in the industry? How many? What's the size of the market in relation to competitors?
I get there's probably 10 other good size companies in the business. So, in scheme of competitors, there really isn't. There isn't like hundreds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's probably only 10 other companies that we're really, dealing with on a competitive basis. So, we know but my focus isn't seeing what they're doing. I'm more concentrated on what I'm doing and sort of staying in my own lane. But over the years, we have started to really chip away at the market share, and you can tell by getting comments or getting data reports from the water registry saying your percentage is going up every year. So there probably is a little bit of I don't know. People are probably a little bit worried about True Blue, I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Is it an industry that AI can affect, or technology? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we have been sort of implementing, but there is big things that you could implement into your business with AI, because we do have a lot of clients that we sort of need to touch base with on a daily basis, and I think our list at the moment is about 10,000 clients.
Yeah.
So the cold calling and things like that, I think that's starting to sort of drift away.
Yeah.
And then obviously these AI agents and things like that starting to come on. It's definitely something that we're interested in adapting to and bringing into our business.
Yeah, it really expands your sort of sales force and stuff, doesn't it? I mean, like, that's it's you got to really keep on top of it. We're doing a lot of stuff, especially in our legal business, in relation to voice-driven documentation and a whole heap of other things we're bringing out to market. But it's I think you got to be. So it's changing at such a fast pace that you just got to keep on top of it as much as you can, and bring it out when you can. So like you said, about 6 years in business. What's been your biggest challenge?
Well, lots changed. Like I was thinking about it like 12 months ago. I was living in Adelaide, had an office in Adelaide, and that was it. Had 3 people working for me. That was it. So like now we've got 10 people working for me. We've got 2 office locations, one in Mildura, one in New South Wales, which we've recently opened up, and then I've got my little office here in Gold Coast. So I guess the biggest challenge has probably been the last 12 months, but it's been the most rewarding. Yeah. Adapting to a big interstate move, and then still keeping your team on board and interested enough to keep going, saying, "Hey, look, I'm not leaving you."
Yeah.
But things are changing because I want to adapt to this different lifestyle. So that's sort of been a challenge, but it's been probably the most rewarding thing ever. And then over the past year, we've been building a new platform. So we've recently launched our new water exchange platform, where users can jump online and they can actually trade water 24/7 in real time. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we started building that in February and we launched it 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Did that cost? Was there a lot of capital outlay to get to that point, or?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big outlay, but it was something that we needed to do just to keep our business at the top. There's already a couple of other businesses that have exchanges, and then there's a couple that don't want to invest the money. And I want to be in this industry for a long time. It's something that I love, and so I know that a big outlay of capital it might suck to do, but it's essential to keep going.
Yeah. And do you see what's the future? I mean, of True Blue Water Exchange, is it chipping away at market share, or do you see an opportunity to potentially acquire or take over other broker businesses, or I guess, or do they? You said before there's a lot in that older age bracket. Is it just waiting for them to effectively retire or fall over, or something else?
Yeah, I guess. Well, obviously we've acquired me dad's list, and that's been good. And to have him still in the business as well has been a really good strategic move, because he's got his old relationships with his clients, and it hasn't been that much of a change because he's still working in the business just under my brand. But yeah, definitely always open for different moves in that aspect. But I guess it's like building up this clientele. I think we launched it 2 weeks and we've already got 200 users on the site, and we haven't pushed it too much. But I guess when I look, the whole reason behind it is, if you want to put a value on your business, what better way to build a water exchange with all these users, and you can actually see people trading in real time. You can actually really pinpoint an actual value of your business. Because if you've got people on your database and you say this is our database, but you take that to the next level, say this is our water exchange platform, and these are the users, and you can see these users are trading, and we can get files of each people trading every year. That's going to be able to put a much bigger price tag on the business as well.
100%.
But yeah, obviously, looking at partnerships as well. One of the cool things that we've implemented is we've implemented a referral partner like a referral partner partnership program in the site. So anyone that's in the same sort of agri space can come on as a referral partner. They get their own code and link. So when one of their clients wants to trade water, and they use their code, they'll get like a 10% kickback every month. So that's just another way to try and expand our brand and push it out there without like giving too much outlay ourselves. But then you've got all these other businesses that are on board. So
and they understand the product stuff. It's always good to offer that. I guess that little carrot or incentive to push them along.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's something that you got to give back something. If we say, do you want to come on as a referral partner, what do we get out of it? So and that's one thing I've always been able to do as well. Like I'm not tied on money or things like that. I feel like if you've got something that you think about, you want to implement, if it's reasonable, you just push through, and if someone gets paid for it, that's totally fine if it's going to push you in the right direction that you want to go.
And what's the minimum investment amount if someone listening out there likes what they hear and would like to get into it? How much do you have to outlay to get a start? I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'd say your probably minimum investment would be 50,000.
Okay. And how do, if people want to get in touch with True Blue Water Exchange, how do they do that?
So you can just get in touch with us through our website, so
Yep.
truebluewaterexchange.com.
Yep.
You know, I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Mm.
Just
Yep.
get in touch with us through
Awesome.
platforms.
Nice. And what do you like to do outside of, I mean, obviously we talk about property investment, business. I see you've been travelling a bit lately. You've been over to Bali and I think you were Fiji before that, weren't you?
Yeah.
And yes, so obviously a bit of travel and yeah.
Yeah, I love travelling. You know, I didn't get my Europe trip this year, but this was a pretty, you know, head down, bum up sort of year with business. So, you know, snuck away to Fiji in July, and then also decided that I'd sneak away to Bali last week, just for a week.
Last minute decision or?
Yeah, because I was obviously with having the offices in, you know, 2 states, and especially with new people coming on. I was travelling quite a bit, so I was pretty wrecked. So I thought, why not, you know, just head over to Bali for a week. And the best thing about, you know, doing what I do, you can, like I said, you can do it from anywhere. So I was getting up at 6 a.m. I was jumping on our team calls at 6 a.m., which is 9 a.m. in Victoria, to do our team meet, and then I was working till 12 in the day, and then I'd knock off.
Yeah, how good's that?
Yeah, and just chill.
Yeah, it's fun. It's, you know, it's funny we're talking about that. Well, I had a One Life Club member in this morning. We're doing a bit of work with, and he said to my business partner at the end, he goes, "Oh, I just want to get. I'd love to have what Michael's got, and he's travelling around all the time." I go, "Mate, it's not as." I go, "You can have it in a heartbeat if you want. It's not." I go, "I am working, and I'm working crazy different hours because the time zone changes, and it's not all as glamorous as it might look like on social media. It's you know, and it's for a reason, and you know, we've got teams located everywhere. But you know, as we were talking before we jumped on here, I'm about to go to Hamilton, Hayman Island. I can't wait to get a recharge before January, and we want to kick some big goals next year, and it definitely helps to be able to get away. But you can work anywhere. Like if you're committed and you make it happen, then there's no reason why you can't be a successful entrepreneur regardless of where you're operating from.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that might be something that, you know, do I take off for a month, you know, and go to Bali for every year and recharge and still work, but, you know, because I felt like, you know, even just having a week in Bali, it was a good recharge. But I don't know about you, but I feel like when you're away, things just don't go to plan.
Yeah, they don't. You come back. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck's going on?
So you're fixing a lot of things, and but that's just business. Like, you know, you got to roll with the punches.
It is, yeah. So it's often hard when the bosses or boss isn't around, and things seem to go. I don't know why. It seems to be as soon as I leave the office, everything seems to go a bit pear-shaped. But you know, we've got a great team that allows me to do that, which I'm sure you do as well. But still, sometimes it takes our direction to get ahead and stuff. So yeah, fantastic, mate. Thanks for joining me today on the Hard Naked Truth. You know, it's been great education to our listeners, and I'd love if some people got on board and invested in water and learned and hopefully they've learned a bit more about that and about yourself as well. So,
nice. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Been good.